When I was 18, I opted not to go to college. I hated school and I absolutely never really had any intention to pursue an academic degree. You can say that I was a rebellious little bum, and I was. Make no mistake about that. So my dad decided to make an example out of me. He said, "Okay son, if you don't want to go to college, I want you out of this house and prove to me and your mother that you can handle the real world on your own. Get a place on your own, get a job on your own, wash your own clothes and cook your own food. In fact, I'll be generous enough to hand you these £500 so that you can have a bit of a head start." So off I go then, to take on the real world by myself at 18 years old. All of my friends went to college, so I pretty much have no one to ask for help. I immediately questioned myself if I made the right decision, or I should have just taken the offer of college from me dad. But I went, fuck it. I never half-ass things anyway. Might as well go all the way and not look back. I took a job as a cashier at Tesco, which paid me about £7 an hour. I had barely any knowledge of money back then, so I didn't really mind what I spent it on as long as I still have some spare change. And surprise, surprise, by the end of the third month, I was living on the very bare minimum in terms of cash. Even if I decided not to have lunch for the day to save up some cash, I still barely could make ends meet. I initially worked about 9 hours a day for 5 days, however that soon became unrealistic because I also have to do the laundry, go to the gym, get groceries, cook, clean up, and also work on my own little project which eventually would become my full-time job. The time wasn't just enough for me to work 9 hours a day anymore, so I had to make some crucial sacrifice. I guess the answer is pretty obvious which one I had to give up and let go. Although I love to go to the gym to keep myself in shape because I was mostly sitting down during my work, I had to let that go and just do push-ups, pull-ups and squats in my room instead, just to keep myself in decent shape. But even though quitting the gym saved me of some much-needed money, it still wasn't enough to pay for everything and save up. Eventually, I had to go 3 days a week without lunch, do laundry only once every 2 weeks, cut my groceries, no entertainment, and limited access to the internet in order to meet my rent of £1,100, and save up just a measly £50 per month. I know, it was grim and bleak for me at the time, especially when I'm only 18 and I absolutely have zero knowledge and experience with money. I had to do extra shifts in the weekends to make up for my lack of cash, but it eventually took a toll on my physical and mental health. So I decided to call in some of my friends who were in college for some help, whether if they have a spare place for me to stay or if I could borrow some money or even just some genuine moral support to get my spirits up. Well, they all just pretty much straight up turned their back on me. Some of them told me that I should have just joined college and have a lot of fun with them. Some told me just to suck it up and pray for the best. Some indirectly told me to piss off. And the rest just simply gave me some random and meaningless words of encouragement which absolutely have nothing to do with what I was going through back then. Such as, "Get yourself a girl, mate, it'll make everything better." I was overwhelmed with emotions at the time, but in my head I was like, yeah, I'm completely penniless now. The last thing I want is a woman who would suck off the remaining change that I have left, mate. I never heard from them again ever since. This is the part where I first realized that when you're struggling big time, literally no one wants to be a part of it. Everyone just wants to get away from you and stay away from you. Even your closest mates whom you've been friends for over 5 years will not want to have anything to do with you. When you appear to look, dress, smell and live like a bum, people would absolutely spit on you and leave you behind for dead, and literally couldn't care less about you. It got me so emotional and sad to realize that, and I always try to convince myself that this wasn't real. People couldn't be that bad. People like to help other people, right? Well, unfortunately, reality hit me extra hard back then, and it overwhelms me to a very high extent. At first, I didn't understand why. In fact, I couldn't even grasp the idea that people would leave a struggling person behind, even if that person is someone they know very well. I really wanted an answer of why would they do such a thing to me. A friend. Someone whom they shared laughs and good times with. Someone whom they shared a lot of things with, being absolutely deserted and just, literally, left to rot in his own shoes. One day after work, my dad called me and asked me how things were going. I obviously lied and said everything was going great because I didn't want my ego to get crushed by his barrage of constructive criticisms. Anyways, he basically invited me to a father and son football lounge on a Sunday at his house. Since we used to do that over the years when I was still in high school, and because me mum had to go to a friend's wedding and can't be his company for the rest of the night. I reluctantly accept, but secretly was just relieved to hear that he still cares about me enough to invite me to an evening Sunday lounge. "So, my son, enjoying the independent life of a young man? You know, at your age I was spending a lot of time getting drunk and getting laid. Are you currently regretting that you rejected my offer of going to college?" "Not really, Dad. There's some cute girls that I met at work, and I genuinely never had any desire to go to college. But if you ask me if I'm enjoying living on my own, if I'm being honest, not so much. It's hard and arduous. You have lots of stuff to think and worry about. It's unpleasant, especially when I couldn't afford any entertainment and have very little time to just relax and enjoy life. Well, that's the life you've asked for yourself, son. If you want to quote-unquote enjoy life, then go to college. No, Dad, I don't want to, and I'm never changing my mind about that matter. I just have to eventually learn to live with the circumstances I am in now, and just keep on going. Good man. Those are the words that I wanted to hear from you. And in fact, to tell you the truth, I was somewhat proud that you want to take on the real world on your own at such a young age. Well, it's getting late. Better get back and get some sleep, son. You'll need it for tomorrow at work. Dad. Yes? I wanted to ask you something. Something that has been bothering me for quite a while. What is it? Do people really abandon you when you're struggling in life? Do they really have the audacity to just leave you behind just like that? Even though they already knew you for a long time? Are people really that bad? They wouldn't have any thoughts of helping you even just a tiny bit. I really wanted to know from you, Dad. Have you ever been in such a situation yourself? You've realized it now, haven't you? Come to the dining room. We'll discuss it there. Want some more wine? Sure. Here's the brutal reality, son. People have their own priorities to take care of, and it is natural for them to want to have their own worlds to live in. Just like you living in your own world now of becoming an independent young man. You have your own priorities to take care of, and not others. The other reality is that struggles or hardships are instinctively perceived by people as troubles and problems. And people do not want troubles and problems brought into their lives, don't they? Instead, they want troubles and problems taken away from their lives. And you, being the man who is struggling and experiencing hardships in life, you inadvertently make people think that you are bringing troubles and problems into their lives. So it is a natural reaction from them to want to stay away from you and avoid you. It's like having a noisy construction work next door. You are going to have the desire to stay somewhere else until it's finished. I'm not saying people are bad. There are some people who are willing to help you when you're in need. It is just that majority of people follow their instincts, and I'm telling you these things for you to know that these things are not things for you to hate or hold a massive grudge on. I'm telling you these things so that you can know about them and eventually just accept them as normal circumstances. And it might take you a while to do so, but this is just how the world works, son. It's cruel and unforgiving. People don't want to experience pain and suffering, son. They always want the path of least resistance. People will never want to know, hear, and talk about your struggles. They only want to know, hear, and talk about your successes. Make no mistake though, your struggles are the building blocks of what will eventually make you successful. And I will always encourage you to embrace and cherish those struggles even though people would instinctively spat on them. They are painful and unpleasant, no doubt, but their gifts are priceless. Because let me tell you from my own experience, son, it is exactly like knowing the way in and out of hell while everyone else is quaking in their boots, just staring at the gates of hell. Thank you for watching.